Alright, so it's been about 2 weeks, nearly 2 weeks since we finished the tour Aotearoa 2020. Legs are feeling a little bit better now. They were sore right up to probably a few days ago actually. So what I thought I'd do is just run through the gear that I took on my bike. Disclaimer, if you've seen our videos so far, you'll know we're not professional cyclists, so take it with a grain of salt. That's what I'm saying. But you know, we finished the tour Aotearoa reasonably comfortable. It's probably worth saying at this point too that we didn't race through this. We finished it in just over 21 days, which is reasonably toury. Average 140k a day, so if we were racing through it, I would probably look at taking less gear and probably slightly different gear. But for the purpose of this video, I'll just tell you what I took. I'll start with sort of lights. I really only had a purpose bike light on the rear of my bike, which was this little Lizine. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it, but this was a really good little light. I think it's probably super important to have a light on your bike, but I think that's probably a given. Everyone will probably understand that. I had a terrapin, Revel8 terrapin on the back. Actually not so sure what size it is, to be honest. It's not the smallest, don't know if it's the biggest. On top, sometimes I carried my rain jacket. Now this, it's worth a mention, which is why I keep it out specifically as well. It's a Gore-Tex shake dry, and I don't know if anyone else has had experience with these. They're reasonably new to the market, the shake dry, but they are awesome. Like I don't think it matters what brand you get. Like it's the shake dry fabric that I'm talking about. It's super light, packs up really small, super breathable, and it keeps you a bit warmer because there's no fabric attached to it. It's essentially just the membrane. So really good. Jacket for a cycle tour like the Tour Aotearoa. We are looking to take, you know, the smallest gear and the lightest gear possible, even if you're touring. In my actually, one of the good things about these terrapin dry bags is this purge valve on there, so really makes it easy to use. That's another polecat bag, I'll get to that shortly. But in here I took my sealskin waterproof gloves. To be honest, I probably would have just needed those for south, not the north. I actually picked these up in Wellington, so you wouldn't really need them up north, but South Island's a lot cooler. Another dry bag. I used this dry bag not only to put my tent in when my tent was wet, but also to blow up my air mattress. That actually went really well. I used that quite a few times when I had a really heavily wet sort of sleeping bag from condensation or rain. Another set of bibs, which Kennett Brothers recommended. I think that's a must. You can't always get your first pair of bibs dry if it's cold, so it's good to have another one. These Ground Effects Helter Skelter pants, which are really good, especially if you're a sweater like me. You can't wear pants. The shorts are really good for just keeping the cool off, and of course the rain, and they're really breathable too. A headlamp. As I mentioned before, I didn't really take bike specific lights apart from that rear light. On the occasional time where we rode when it was dark or on dark, I used this light, which was super fine. A blow up pillow and a little merino hat that I bought halfway down because I didn't realise how cold it would be down south compared to the North Island. That being said, we did have a few southerlies that came through which chilled things down. Merino undies, merino t-shirt. This is my camp stuff. So I always had the t-shirt and the undies and merino socks and ground effect Slim Jims, which aren't merino but they're brilliant. Of course, the reason I had merino was because I knew the kit was going to get smelly. So I had the best intentions of washing this kit, but for whatever reason, be it I was wearing the kit or it's just too busy, I didn't always have time to wash it. So I actually didn't wash it till I got to Wellington, and then I didn't wash it again till I got home. So I only washed it once. Oh. These arm warmers, I don't think I use them up north. I only use them down south, so they were super useful. I would probably pick them up for down south if you had the option. And that chicken's noisy. I had a blow-up mattress, and lastly I had MSR Hubba, sorry, just the one-man tent. These are awesome. Not the lightest tent, but they can be assembled without pegs, so you can set them up in a lean-to like this or in a shed, which I did on a few occasions, just to keep the skeets and the sandfly off. Sandflies are outrageous, especially down south. So, frame bag. I use a porcelain rocket. I think it's a size large. I think the model is like 52 megahertz or something they call it. I have no idea what the reason for that is. And there had first aid kit, pretty basic. To be honest, I don't think I used it. You need a first aid kit, but it doesn't have to be too elaborate. You're always close to medical centres and whatnot. I had a bag for all my cables, phone. I was carrying a drone, GoPro and all that sort of carry on, so I had quite a few cables in here. To go along with that, I had a 20,000 amp battery pack. I found this on the internet. Most of them around 500 grams. This was like 385. It's a Bazus. Really good. I never run out of juice with that. It was fantastic. I was gonna buy a dynamo hub before I left. I'm glad I didn't, because I didn't need it. That battery pack was more than enough. A little nano day pack from Cedar Summit, Ultra Silk. These weigh nothing, like literally I don't know how that would weigh nothing. It feels like it weighs nothing, and super useful for if you're transiting through airport, ferry terminals, whatever. They are you know, you can put food in them, whatever you want. Super useful to have. Soap in a container. Pump, goes without saying, you kind of need that. Now I took a Cedar Summit cup. I wasn't going to take this, but me and Leno decided before we left that we would buy muesli, like a big bag of muesli, and share it between us. So I ended up using it every day, whether it was for a cup or for breakfast. Worth taking that. I had these 3 bags. The reason I like the Cedar Summit bags is you can buy different colours. So then I knew what gear was in what bag, so I wasn't fluffing around trying to find it in there. You're not exactly saving weight. I mean, these bags, ultimately they do weigh something, but they're pretty light. So, and like I say, I wasn't racing it, so it wasn't super important. It was more about convenience and comfort. In this bag I had Fly Repellent. I used hardly any of that. Would I take it again? Yeah, I think you should, because it could easily turn south. Hand sanitizer, use it for your hands, your butt, sunblock, and a Gear Aid repair kit. So the Gear Aid repair kit, I did use that. I am reasonably hard on waterproof gear, so I've been told, so I did actually damage my terrapin dry bag and had to use that. But I mean, you can use that for your waterproof jackets and your inflatable mattresses too. So I personally think it's worth taking. Maybe that's just because I'm hard on gear. That this bag, I had a big bottle of chain lube, a toothbrush for the chain, a rag, and another bottle of tire sealant. So just knew where that stuff was. In here, this was like my toiletry bag or my toilet bag. In here, sorry, I'm trying not to say too much. This is about the third video I've done on this because the are driving me nuts. Toothpaste, toothbrush, and toothbrush. Butter. Seriously critical, I think, but hey, each to their own. Baby wipes, towel, and like I say, I've got my soap in a container. Soap in a container because quite often you'll be staying at camps or you need to wash in a river. You ain't gonna have soap, and it really is nice just to actually clean the body. So that was that bag. And then finally my tent poles. So they all went in the frame bag. In my top tube bag, which is a stealth top tube bag. Mike makes really good top tube bags and feed bags. We'll get to those in a minute. A small bottle of chain lube. I found just having a small bottle in the top tube bag and topping it up with the big one just meant that I used it more. So I'd use that a couple of times a day, and the chain needed it. These Noon, I think you pronounce, hydration tabs. Like I say, I'm a sweater. I needed them, especially up south in parts, up north, sorry, in parts of the south. And a spork, for obvious reasons. And I kept the spork up there because, well, it's titanium, so it's sharp. And I had punctured one of my dry bags with that spork before, so it lives up there. Feed bags, again, like I mentioned, stealth bags. I reckon he makes the best feed bags, but that's just me. I had a drink bottle on the right hand side, and then on the left hand side I had put fruit, nuts, that sort of thing in there. We ate lots of fruit, and we discussed this about halfway down because we're starting to feel a little bit arse, and we kind of felt that we were performing better up north, largely because we were eating better than down south. There was just so much more fruit available up north. And then on the top, well, actually on the very top, have my spot tracker and GPS. GPS is a Wahoo Bolt. Not the latest one out, but these are really good. It's a really intuitive GPS. I was able to download all the maps that the Kennett brothers put up on site and had no problems with them. Just awesome. The only thing about that is if you do use the map function, to the tracking and map function, it does go through the batteries, and I found that a couple of times on the bigger days I run out of juice. So, but apart from that, Wahoo, awesome. On the front, I had this Revelate, I think they pronounce it Yucca. They're not the cheapest bag, but they are super good. They're 100% waterproof. You can submerge these even with the zip and they won't leak. So I kept my drone in here, controller, phone, the book, and just bits and pieces that I either wanted easy access to or I wanted it dry or to keep the dust off. It gets really dusty. And you spend a lot of time on gravel roads. And there also took my Leatherman. I put it up there because it was the only knife I had, and I used it for cutting fruit and all sorts. But of course I used it for mechanical stuff, like we used these pliers, and that was super useful to have that piece of kit. I would recommend taking one of those. Up front here I had these scuffs. These scuffs are worth a mention. I bought these just for the tour because I went on another trip with a mate Kumsa and he had them, and they look really good. There's this one piece molded foam almost, super light, and really comfortable. It was good to get the feet out after a day's riding. I used them in transit on the ferry, the plane, You can obviously wear them with socks and that as well, and doesn't feel uncomfortable, so they are worth a go. I had on the front here my tent. Now this tent is in a polecat bag, so these polecat bags are designed to go on the side here using these king cages. So I have one king cage on the front. I'll talk about that shortly. But this one on the front here, I had my sleeping kit in it. I had 2 different sleeping bags. So one bag for the North Island was really lightweight. It was a 10-degree bag, which to be honest was really cold. I don't even know if I would do it again. I would probably look at taking this sleeping bag, which is a 0-degree bag for the whole trip. Be a little bit too much for the North Island, but yeah, the 10-degree was pushing it for me. So that there is just my sleeping bag. My other one, I had my sleeping bag. With my other sleeping bag, I had the sleeping bag, the air mattress, and some camping kit. So it was super compact, and I quite like the idea of that. But in practice, who knows? For the what have I got here? So in the back, we actually did take 2 of these backcountry cuisines, which we used the first night, and we also used at the end of the trail. So they were really good to have. It's good to know that you've got a backup. I won't talk about that just yet. My drink bottles, I had a water filter, damn. So drink bottles, that was the one that went up top. And then I had this 900ml or whatever it is on the other fork and another cradle. I haven't brought it with me, I left it in the shed. I did take a Grail water filter because I was paranoid about using using up all my water. I don't know if I'll do it again. Like, I think I used it up north. I don't think I used it down south. Just about every cafe we went to was happy to refill water bottles, or there was filtered water available. Literally there was water all the way down. Yeah, so I don't know if I'd take a water filter again, to be honest. I think if anything I'd maybe just take another smaller bottle if I was really worried about it. So just coming back to that, actually I'll talk about that now. So what I took a second polecat bag, remembering that I had the king cage. So I had a king cage on here. The idea was that when I went down 90 Mile Beach, I would attach a 1.25 pump bottle to that, because there's no water down 90 Mile Beach, and if it's hot, which 9 times out of 10 is that time of the year, you need that water. So, and then the intention was after that I'd just throw the bottle out, and then I took another polecat bag, which was one of these, and I put food in there and just bits and pieces, not a lot of food. You could I had fruit and everything in there, so it became a really useful bag. And sometimes I didn't use it, like if there were stretches where I knew that there was plenty of food, then I wouldn't load it up. I'd just put it in my frame bag like that. But I'd definitely take that again. It's just good to have a bit of a backup. You don't want to be carrying anything on your back unless you have to. I took my tools went down the bottom here on another little drink bottle holder. Kept them low because they're quite heavy. Just your normal stuff, like I had plenty of zip ties, patches, tyre boot, lever, all that sort of stuff, spare parts. Brake pads, I actually only changed my brake pads once in Hokitika, and it was only the rear. So I had 2 sets, I only replaced one at Hokitika. Definitely take a set of brake pads, even if it's just one. I would probably take 2 though, just to be safe. There's some super steep stuff. I was actually surprised I didn't have to replace them sooner, but I didn't, so that worked out okay. I took a bike lock, which is a must. I think you kind of need one. Gives you a bit of confidence, and there were 2 of us, and I would still recommend taking one. The gear that I took and then ended up sending home, I took a vest, like a lightweight kind of a windbreaker vest. I used it once, I think, on the bridge to nowhere, and then I didn't use it again, so I sent that back. At the same time, I sent back this stuff. So we took a cooker, even though originally we weren't, and then we decided we would because there was over 1,000 people doing this tour, and we were just not 100% sure how the infrastructure was going to handle all of that, but it was fine. So we sent the cooker back as well. We took a speaker. I know what you're saying. We took a speaker. We didn't really. Well, we knew we shouldn't. It was quite big. So we sent that back only because we just didn't really use it that much. Earphones. I took these thinking that I might use them on the gravel road, but I didn't. And of course I was riding with Lane, and unfortunately I had to talk to Lane, so I didn't use those, so I sent them back as well. Things that I was going to take at the start of the tour but never ended up packing. I left my pseudo cream at home. Didn't think that I would need it. Probably a mistake. To be honest, I actually had to end up using some of Lane's, which is a bit gross. So I would take pseudo cream because I didn't really have any problems per se, but I still had irritation. I don't think you can ride 3,000k in one hit without irritation, and that stuff's really good. I didn't take batteries in the end for the spot tracker. What we did was we just turned it off every night and then turned it on again in the morning, and there's still power in there. We just didn't change the batteries, we didn't need to. So that was my gear that I took. The bike, this bike is a Celsa Fargo 2018, size large. I'm a 182 centimeters and it fits me so good. I so like this bike, even more now that I've done this tour. I really like it. So I didn't put the drop bars on it that it comes with. I rode with Jones bars only because, well, I'm a mountain biker first and foremost, and it just felt more normal. The good thing about the Jones bars, which I'll show you in a minute, is that everything straps to them really well. Like I was able to put, you know, the Revelate pole bag underneath there, and everything like that. So yeah, they're really good. Takes you a little while to get used to them, but they're really comfortable. I didn't have any hand trouble, and maybe that's attributed to the Jones bars, but also probably the Aero bars. So the Aero bars, definitely worth having Aero bars, in my opinion. Poor old Leno got cycling palsy in his hands, reasonably bad. Well, reasonably bad. I actually haven't asked him whether they've healed yet. I'm a good mate like that. But not only do they actually do make you slightly aero, so both of us found when we dropped onto our aeros we would clip down another gear because we knew we were going to need it. They literally made me 1 or 2 k's an hour faster, but the purpose was just comfort, and they were super comfortable. Got to mention, like, I'm super happy with my rims. Like, I made a big investment, a big call on rims. I can actually use these rims on my trail bike as well, so I wasn't outlaying too much for one bike. So yeah, when other people were like cracking rims and whatnot, I just didn't worry about that at all. Like, some of the tracks we were riding down were pretty rough, and I was super happy with my rims. Just knowing I didn't have to think about them. I will give a seat a mention too, because it was a really nice seat, and I think a lot of people have tried them, and a lot of people might try them. They're super comfy. Like I mentioned, didn't really have any butt issues. Only problem is that it's stretched. It was literally a brand new seat with about 400k on it, in all fairness, before I started the tour. And I think I maxed out the adjustment by the time I got to Queenstown, and I was sort of edging it out so that I didn't like max it out too soon. Like, I was a bit worried it was going to overstretch. So beautiful seat and really comfortable, but super expensive if you're only going to get one tour out of it. The other thing I will quickly mention too is if you're thinking about logistics, getting your bike up there and then back from Invercargill, what I did, I'm lucky enough to have a bike bag. I sent the bike up with me, set up the bike in the motel. I about 3 days before booked, paid for and arranged through Trade Me, because that's the cheapest way you'll do it, to pick the bike bag up and send the bike bag down to Invercargill, where I was staying there at a motel. And I just rang up the motel and said, hey, can I make this booking, and by the way, am I able to send a bag down? They were really good. Park something, I can't remember now. It's one of the big hotels in Invercargill. They were super helpful. So all of that cost me $43, which is literally the same price as hiring a bike box in the airport and then hiring another one again at the bottom. But I was able to send it down. I had another change. I had a change of clothes. I had some tools and things like that. And just the security and knowing that it was there, it meant that I could set it or pack it all away at the hotel, which that worked really good, to be honest. So yeah, I'll quickly show you the setup that I had for the bars here. So I, with the top tube bag, I velcroed around the stem, and then these little loops here just went through the sides of each feed bag. Underneath here, then I just had the volley strap running through the front of each pouch, and then you're able just to slide, you know, the polecat bag through. So I thought that setup was super tight. I never had any problems with gear moving around or anything like that, so super happy. So what I'll do is I will put a link at the bottom of this post and to a Google Docs, and I'll just list everything that I took. But yeah,